be frank, the DCEU has been a mess for some time now, especially in the last year or two, with Ezra Miller's issues and Amber Heard being a piece of shit, and now with WB shooting itself with Batgirl. It got me thinking what it was supposed to be, which brought me back to one of my most popular videos of all time, my DCEU, how I would have built the DCEU, basically. I had some rules back then, but we're going to scrap the whole DCEU and start from where we are in 2022, actually 2023, because we need some time to make a movie. That's the only rules I have for today's video. So basically I'll just be explaining some parts of the storyline that I'm trying to go with, and some key details to everything I'm building. Today is only phase 1, so if you guys want more, I will do phase 2, phase 3, continue onward until eventually I feel like we should come to an ending. May 2023, Superman. No doubt you have to start with the face of DC Comics, but is still not the most popular character in this year's lineup. This will be another origin story-ish. We won't be going over Krypton or Pa Kent's death or non-death in some continuities. We are still going to go over Clark becoming the Man of Steel. More of the saving the cat in the tree type deal for a bit while building the villain in the background. I think kind of the first Men in Black, because our villain has never been seen on the big screen, with that being Parasite. I want to show something that we aren't used to. Superman movies usually rely on Lex Luthor or Zod for most of the movies, but I think you see Parasite as an alien threat and that's something that we can slowly build while we're showing Clark gaining the public's trust and then having to struggle against a pretty strong threat. I also think that using Parasite brings us into a new type of era and flips that new leaf. Like I said previously, Zod and Lex are overused. If you were to go up to a random person on the street, that's the only two Superman villains they can name. So I want to stretch the legs of Big Blue here. And at the end of the movie, as an end credit scene, I want to show a pod in the Fortress of Solitude opening up with only a red light emitting from it. We'll get there in next video, but that's just, I want to leave that as a October. Batman. This Batman film will be centered on Bruce about year 3. He's starting to get wide recognition as the Bat and trading his mythic status and more becoming a hero to Gotham. We will also be introducing Dick Grayson as Robin. All the greatest Batman stories center around his relationships with his allies. One of the most important members to Batman and his growth as a character is Dick Grayson, especially when Dick becomes Nightwing. I just want to move towards how Batman is in the comics and not ignore a good 40 years of his mythos. With that being said, I want to be within a small realm of realism. Dick would be more around 15 to 16 rather than the 10-year-old that he usually starts off with. Now, what is Batman without his rogues? I want to follow a similar route as the Batman and introduce Catwoman as soon as possible, but still as an anti-hero, neither hero nor villain. I want her to act as a resource that Bruce uses to get information from to solve this crime spree. What crime spree may I be talking about? Professor Pig, simply. If you don't know, Professor Pig is a maniacal serial killer who attempts to fix his victims. This is most primarily seen in the Arkham Knight as a side mission, but it's a newer character, less than about 20 years old, but it's interesting and I feel like a good starting point and a good introduction to Bruce outside the gangs he would have faced to this point. Bring that noir feel to the movie, but also keep it semi-campy, but not to a point where it kills the movie's feel. March 2024, Wonder Woman. While I love the original Wonder Woman movie, I don't like that it's set in the past. So we're setting this in modern day. We're going to keep the Dana that's been hiding in plain sight until Big Blue shows his face. Where she now feels the duty to emerge as bigger threats come to pass, this is none more true than when it comes to Cersei. I believe this can get us to a point where we can start incorporating a mystical side that has become synonymous with Wonder Woman. Bringing Cersei in is to have her brainwashed through her powers the powerful leaders of the world. Dinah would be tracking her down, eventually realizing that she was the one behind all these drastic measures. She had been following a route that Cersei had been previously using in the past. Eventually stopping by capturing her and sending her to Themyscira to be held there for her crimes. Think kind of Loki in the Dark World. As an end credit scene, we would see Diana returning to her apartment on a balcony where we see Superman landing and questioning who she was and what she intends to do here on Earth. November 2024. Before Justice League can occur, I want to pick up where Wonder Woman ends off, with Clark and Diana forming an alliance between the two and showing that all they want for Earth is its protection and safety. This brings us to Bruce, who is following a shadowy organization that has been operating out of the docks of Gotham, selling parts and goods from the docks of Gotham, only known by the Demon's Hand, stalking their groups to the very center of Gotham, where Bruce sees a man crawling out of a pit of sludge, where we see the Demon's Head, Ra's al Ghul, assisted by his daughter Talia, who Bruce recognized from several high-end parties he's attended. Digging, he finds that a long past of demons hand in the real name, the League of Assassins, and a long reach that has shaped the world. Investigating as Bruce to find what they are bringing in and what they intend to do, and that being a Mazo. Intend to release the android in the middle of Metropolis to adapt and copy Superman's power. Where Bruce would attempt to reach out to Superman, end up scanning Superman's flight pattern and finding his apartment, where he would confront Big Blue at his apartment as the Bat. Think more like Justice League. Quickly, that attempt goes sour, where Batman, knowing he's outmatched, flees and attempts his plan B. Buying the Daily Planet, now a news website, where he goes to meet his new employees, Clark immediately recognizes Bruce as the Bat from last night, after picking up his cowl with his vision. Where Bruce shakes his hand with something inside and winks, leaving him a note that says that meet him at the Bay and bring his star-spangled girlfriend with him. Clark quickly explains to Diana both the meet at the Bay and explain the findings, eventually into a confrontation of both Raish, which Bruce has assigned himself to take care of, while the other two are dealing with the Mazo. Eventually, the trio take down their threat. Bruce mentions that they could be up against bigger threats in the future, and they may not just be enough. February 2025, The Flash. When it comes to making a Flash project, the first thing to go to people's heads is which one. Much like the Robins, 4 characters have donned the yellow boots in the mainstream media. Strangely enough, I'm going to go with the third, Wally West. Mostly due to the fact that simply Wally works best for what I want to build. Barry, if you don't remember, has been dead for over 20 years in the comics at one point, and simply I don't want to use any Barry stories at this time period. It can work, as we see in the Justice League cartoon, Wally can just be the Flash with a little explanation. In this film, we will be using Gorilla Grodd. All Reverse Flash in any form is great. The non-speedsters have always been more compelling to me. With this universe, I want to be a little out there and zany, much like the comics. I think Gorilla Grodd is the best villain to show the dynamic off in the style I want to shoot for. July 2025, The Green Lantern Corps. While the first audience sure isn't the greatest to come back from, I feel like Green Lantern deserves his time in the sun. Much like the Flash, the issue with this one is which one? Simple, John Stewart. DC has a long lineage of characters taking mantles, and simply John Stewart is the most interesting and fun character to use out of the Green Lanterns. The style I want to shoot for is more Star Wars, a big space opera. While John is our main character, he won't be our sole Green Lantern, as the title suggests, and it'll be a culmination of the Corps to take on an equal threat, the Red Lanterns, with Atrocitus being our main villain. The Red Lantern serves as a powerful villain that can easily overwhelm the Green Lanterns through pure power. While Yellow Lanterns will come later, the Red Lanterns are what we're going to start and give us the full concept of Green Lanterns and the rings can do. The anchor for this movie will be a random lantern. I imagine someone like Kilowog to give us a familiar face to worry for, being on patrol when getting a reading of something approaching quickly. Emerging from hyperspace is a big ship with the face of a skull. December 2025. We would open with a decimated Mars, a ton of Martians dead as Brainiac forces start overwhelming the Green Lantern Corps. John finally decides that he needs to warn the next planet on the chopping block, Earth. John swoops to the sky, dodging aerial attacks to bring him down, while we pan down to an injured John Jones, entering a facility and finding an escape pod with only instruction to follow John Stewart. On Earth, Superman will be doing his rounds of Metropolis when he's crashed into by John Stewart, where he would begin to stutter and ask for help, where Superman would call Bruce and Diana for help immediately. Both picking up the call, and Diana immediately heading to Metropolis. Bruce says he has to make a detour. In Central City, Bruce will recruit Wally for assistance with the knowledge that the Red Blur is in fact him, simply leaving a battering on Wally's table as a symbol of trust. Arrive in Metropolis as a meteor falls from the sky into the side of the Daily Planet, where Clark would shoot up to, worried for Lois, where Superman would meet Amanda Waller's team who had already evacuated the skyscraper. The meteor would slide itself open to reveal John Jones, healed from the pod's functions and ready to fight, not for himself, but for his people. Brainiac, when he would arrive, would rush every city we had seen up to this point. Gotham, Metropolis, Themyscira, Central City, quickly to give us a sense of urgency and a reason for new heroes to rise from the ashes shortly after. Eventually, Superman would enter the hull of Brainiac's ship to in fact find out that Brainiac had played a part in Krypton's destruction, pulling strings throughout Krypton's government, which eventually would lead to the end of Krypton. At the end of the movie, we'd see our heroes return home, tired, beaten, but in the end clean up the cities to eventually rebuild the foundations, and hopefully for a new generation of heroes. But thank you guys for watching. That is all for today's video. I think revisiting this concept is interesting, and I wanted to do it for a long time. I just couldn't think of a good enough storyline to go with, and I just figured out Phase 1. Eventually, I'll figure out the rest of the phases if you guys want it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm the Bed Took, and you're the internet. Subscribe, and have a very good night.